I will be reading some of my China poems, but this first one is not one of those. I just like it. So. It's titled Bone Tree. You, the bone white tree, reaching from my front yard into the sky like a hand. You want to pull a name from the clouds, but there is nothing. It has not rained for so long. When I close my eyes, I hear you. When I sleep, your voice begging for any name I can spare. Names make things human, but I have none to give. Please, you weep, anything. How do I tell you that all I have to give is my life? Would that even help? If I bled into your roots, carved or bound flesh carved from my bones to your trunk, would you rise like the man you want to be, like Christ from the tomb? So now I'll get into some of the China poems, as I call them. These first two are based on films about the Cultural Revolution, which was about a decade in China's recent history. If you don't know anything about the Cultural Revolution, it's a very interesting period. So go home and Google it. So this first one is Vice Principal Bian Zhongyun, August 5th, 1966. She knows what's coming. They've already done it once, played connect the dots with her pores and erased what they found with their fists. Next, they will use their boots. They will march across her back and her face, and she will be the first of thousands more to follow. They will swing at her body with legs torn from tables and desks. They will laugh at her broken bones, tell her to march buckets of sand around the schoolyard all day, and when she falls to the ground, they will kick her until her blood and tears turn the dirt into mud that they will demand she clean up. And only when it is too late, when the sun is low in the sky, when they must return to their rooms to study for the next day's lessons, only then will they send her body to the hospital, covered in the posters that call for her humiliation. Yes, she knows what's coming. Still she rises from her bed, sweeps fear from her face like stray hairs. She pulls on her shoes, brushes the wrinkles from her clothes, shakes her husband's hand, and leaves. And the second one, second of my Cultural Revolution poems, is A Prison Guard Watches Ling Zhao Write in Blood. And it starts with an epigraph from Ling Zhao, who is a poet. This is blood, the blood of a martyr. Who can wipe it away? She is at it again, scraping a hairpin against her palm over and over until words surge to the surface. She wields that hairpin like a scalpel, just sharp enough to break the day-old scabs and squeeze out poems by the ounce. I watch her, scraping and writing all morning for just one line of poetry, too faint and fading into the cloth to read, but by then she is too tired to read it anyway. I am here to punish Ling Zhao for the lies she writes in her own blood. Repent, I beg her. Take back these words. What good can come of this bloodshed? The same demands every time, but she never speaks a word to me. She never seeks forgiveness. So every day the discipline continues, and every day fresh wells of poetry spring open all over Ling Zhao's body, flow freely for hours, cover every surface with the dark red proof of her guilt. This one is also another China poem, but with a slightly different subject matter. It's titled Yu Shui Writes Home. Dear Father and Mother, have the waters come yet? Is our house still there along the banks of the Yangtze? It's a strange feeling, making money on the river that will devour my home. They call me Cindy on this boat because Westerners can't pronounce a simple name like Yu Shui. So they call me Cindy, and I do too. Hello, my name is Cindy. Every time a wrinkled white face bobs its way past me, hello, my name is Cindy. Welcome aboard. But I work mostly in the kitchen. I prefer it this way. I wash dishes and it feels like I'm home. I pretend the appliances are the two of you. The tall rack that holds the dirty dishes is you, Father. Wiry and fragile, though it may look when bare, that rack takes on dish after dish without fear of ever falling down. Mother, you are the dishwasher. Stout and sturdy, but when I close the lid, the water comes like tears, hot and fast, and by the time I open it up again, the water is gone. I try to imagine your face as I write this. Are you crying? Are you happy? I have been working very hard and have sent home all the money I could. I hope it is enough. I know you cannot read this, but I think you'll understand. And we have one more poem, and it's technically fits into the project that I'm working on, which is poems inspired by Chinese and Taiwanese documentary. Although the film that I based this one on is a very different sort of film that actually asks questions about film itself, and documentary film specifically. So it's a very different kind of poem compared to the other China poems. It's titled The Camera's Existential Crisis. And it begins with an epigraph that I've taken from the film itself. Okay, it's time to turn the camera off now. I have been there since birth. Watched the doctor pull her from your womb, cut the cord. New flesh, wet and, at first, quiet, then the rising cry of life, the cry of colored cheeks. And I watched as she wandered towards the Venetian canal, your daughter, not old enough to know the fear of drowning, edging closer and closer, stopped at last when her father saw you sitting there with me, watching. Always together, I am her mother just as much as you are. I have been there as long as you have, watched her days and nights, but always closer than you, by inches. They mean a great deal, those inches. That day in Venice, wasn't she just inches from death? Her father raged at us then, threatened to drop us both in the water, you and I together. Mother and camera, we are one, but we are not equal. Does he look at me and say, wife? No. He scowls at you and says, camera. My daughter, my flesh. I pray she is not angry with me. I hope she does not hate her dear camera. It was not my fault. I was held back. You held me back. You, mother, wife, director, artiste. I can watch no more.